I really want to just start and explain why I'm here today, and that is really just to tell my side of the story, and I think more than anything dispel some of the myths and misstatements that are floating around out there, and my eternal optimism and hope that we're going to have a race next year. So with that being said, I know a lot of you do know this, but some of you may not know. This has been my dream for probably over 20 years, is to bring Grand Prix racing to Austin. The last 6.5, I've worked on it just about 24/7. And it continuing tomorrow, I'm hopeful, and it's still my dream, to bring Formula One to Austin. So I think it's important for everyone to know what my role is in the partnership in this. My role in the partnership has always been to bring my lifetime of experience, relationships with content, bring as many series as I could for not only the city and the state, but our partners, and for the facility. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that. My partner's role has been the financing, and I don't pretend to know that industry or anything like that. So anyway, that's kind of the division of the partnership, or each individual roles. I can sit here before all of you and with my partners. We've talked about it. I don't think anyone disputes that I've done everything that I promised to do for the partnership, and more. I'm pleased and just proud as can be that Circuit of the Americas has the possibility of having a Formula One Grand Prix, has a possibility of having a MotoGP, Super V8. There's no facility in the world that can claim that, and much less before the facility's even completed. So I think we should all take a lot of pride in that. I think that the fact that one of the events can be considered for inclusion in the Major Events Trust Fund is a huge benefit for everyone. Certainly investors, and I think this is a fantastic project for the state of Texas and the city of Austin. As we all know, everyone's fought really hard to make this happen. I think that to explain my position of where I think we are today, there's been a lot of media out there as to what's going on, and what does the future look like. And I want to just really emphasize right now, because I'll get to correcting the misstatements and the myths of what Tavo or Red or Bobby think or feel about the other. So let me just say this: all of us, and there's a couple of COTA people here, have worked their rear ends off. I have worked nonstop on this, and I think that everyone should recognize the enormous efforts of Red and Bobby as well, because not only has a ton of time and money gone into this, and a lot of money, but everybody is emotionally attached to the project, and rightfully so, and I think that's a good thing, But I think that in late spring, amongst our partners, we had just a view of thinking of a different direction where things should go, and that happens, and no one's necessarily right or wrong. That created a little bit of internal friction, but nothing that would derail the project. The real reason that we're having this press conference today, instead of announcing a huge sponsor, which I hope we can do that in a couple of weeks, is the simple fact that we don't have a contract with Formula One. And The reason we don't have a contract with Formula One is because as a project, we have failed many times over to fulfill our financial obligations to Formula One. It's literally that simple. I was encouraged today to see some news reports that the door is still open for us to be able to fix that. And I've also been encouraged in recent days to see that apparently all the funding's in place. And so with that being said, I'm really optimistic and hopeful that we're going to get this done and we're going to have a Grand Prix next year. And I think the only thing that I have been very circumspect in my comments to this point, because I have not wanted to do or say anything that hurts the project long term. There's nothing, and I don't think any of you who have known me a long time can imagine that right now I'm really sad and I'm worried. But I'm hopeful because this project means the world to me. So that's really it. I think I have personally been a little bit bothered with some of the rumors that I've heard that there was Tavo is holding out for money. I had a national reporter call me today and tell me that I walked away from $39 million. You guys know, a lot of you know me pretty well. I'm not money oriented. I think if I had been offered less than even 10% of that, you wouldn't be seeing me today. I'd be in Tahiti working on my tan. So I've spent 6 or 7 years on this and made a decent salary for one of those years. And I'm hoping that we can all get this back on the road. And I have offered, as recently as last night, to offer my services to try to help fix this. But I don't want anyone to question my motives. And quite frankly, in defense, I think that right now we should be praising Mr. Ecclestone. We were in breach on multiple issues since as late as May. And he sent numerous requests and letters that we were all aware of how to fix it, and we failed to do that. The final point I want to make, and then we can kind of open it up if y'all have some questions, is that there's been this, I don't know, misrepresentation, I think accidentally been picked up in the media. I'm not blaming you guys, but I think you guys have maybe expressed it wrong, that there was never an assurance, there hasn't been an assurance of where the Grand Prix would be held. That there couldn't be anything further from the truth. Every Formula One contract is site specific, meaning you cannot move it somewhere else. So this crazy conspiracy that a few bloggers have started that, oh, maybe the event was going to be moved to Houston or Dallas, or somebody was holding the project hostage, that couldn't be further from the truth. There's been 18 months worth of opportunity to assure that, and that is for Formula One to receive their money. The second assurance was that a partner, this company had the contracts. And then the third assurance is that the FIA has the listing officially as Austin, Texas. So make no question, there's no other place in the world that Grand Prix could be held but Austin, Texas. So, although I'm extremely worried, I know that Red is and Bobby is too. I'm hopeful, and I know that we keep getting kind of a little bit bombarded from different media sources around the world. But the truth of the matter is that all we have to do is make good with Formula One, and I'm happy to help do that.
Why hasn't Mr. Ecclestone received his money? It seems like that's where the wall is. Bernie wants to get paid. He give you the rights. We have a race.
To be perfectly honest, the money part has never been my role. If I'd had the money, I wouldn't have been willing 18 months ago to give up the majority of my project.
Who's supposed to pay him for the rights
The
then?
partners of CODA, the other partners in CODA.
So are you dropping out?
No, I think that what, I think what I offered to do a while back is that there was certainly a different philosophy of the direction. And so we offered up we basically asked if we could buy them out, my partners out. And they, for whatever reason, they chose to decline that. And so instead, they offered a buyout for me. And that has been an ongoing negotiation, but really has nothing to do with whether Formula One and Bernie bring the circus or not. It was a hard thing for me to agree to, simply because this has been my baby from day one. But there's nobody that wants to see Grand Prix racing at Circuit of the Americas more than me. I think it's and Red and Rad and Bobby specifically. I mean, he's spent a ton of money on this, and but it's not anybody's fault. But it's the project has been underfunded. But no one's done that intentionally or maliciously. But it sounds like maybe that's not the case now, and I think that everything will move forward.
Well, how do you get a project like this off the ground, and then the money just suddenly is not there? Obviously, everybody had to know what was at stake and what it was going to cost for X, Y, and Z. So where did the lack of fulfillment of the
Jim,
obligations come from?
I can't really speak to that. I think that, like any project, there have been a lot of hurdles that we've had to overcome that we didn't anticipate. I mean, from gas lines being on the property to additional clone permits that were not seen on the original floodplains. Just so many things that to be perfectly honest, I don't think anyone anticipated the soil conditions to be as challenging as they've proved to be. It's not a runway at ABIA where there's a little bit of bumps that are allowed. So, but I can speak about all the ins and outs about racing and promoting. I mean, that's my role. I really can't. It's not my place to speak about the financing or the money part, because that's not my role. So,
Do you know if the money's there now, though?
I'm sorry?
Is the money now there?
I just know what I've read and read in the last few days. It sounds like that it may be.
Did you agree to a buyout?
I agreed to one, but I guess it hasn't.
Let me take that, Tavo. I'm Casey Dobson. I'm Tavo's attorney. That's the outfit. Negotiations over a buyout of Tavo have been going on for weeks, and they continue to go on, and we haven't reached a resolution.
What would
You
that
said you're
accomplish?
not dropping out. Are they trying to kick you out? I mean, because if offer you this buyout, Bernie Ecclestone says that you don't have the contract for the grant of rights anymore. Are you being frozen out of this thing, or are they just trying to kick you to the curb?
I don't really want to get into the weeds about that. Let's just say there's been a difference of philosophy, and for the good of the project, I'm willing to do whatever it is for the project to go forward. That's the truth.
Does that mean stepping out of the way?
If I need to, sure.
Do you think you have a choice in that?
Sure, I think that everyone involved wants this project to happen. I don't think anyone wants it to fail. I mean, more than anything, really the truth here is that we need to meet, this project needs to meet its financial obligations with Formula One. I mean, it's just that simple. We can put spin on it, and people, I'm not saying the partners, but other people can point fingers at who's to blame. I don't want to do that. The project has been underfunded, and I don't think anybody, that's not a surprise to anybody. I don't think there's any shame in that. I mean, if you budget for 150 or 200 million and the project's 300 million, it's it's considerable difference. But again, I'm not party to that. I think the only thing that's disappointing is that it may be that the timing was just barely off, because Mr. Ecclestone gave us opportunities for 3 months. I mean, literally. And I'd like to think that my relationship with him, although strained and tested now, you know, allowed us that flexibility. But when they ask you for payment and you don't do it repeatedly over and over and over, eventually, and even as recently as the now publicized meeting 2-3 weeks ago, that he told us, you know, you can pay this now and we'll continue with the current contract, or we can tear it up and issue a new one, or we'll just cancel the whole thing. And we didn't, you know, for whatever reason, choose to remedy the one that was in place. And to my knowledge, there was another one sent that hasn't been executed yet, but maybe it will. And so he pulled the plug on the one that we had for Austin before.
Who were in those negotiations? Who were in those negotiations?
Me and Bobby and a couple of other representatives from Circuit of the Americas and Mr. Ecclestone.
Steve?
And,
Was Steve in there?
Sexton, he was there, and a bunch of attorneys and attorneys legal, and it was good.
Tavo, this may be difficult to ask, but I'm going to put a spin on it. This, as far as what your leaving might accomplish, I'm not a racing expert, but I've talked to some inside Auto Week magazine and whatnot. They say you're the expert when it comes to F1 in this group, and some of your partners, I'll go ahead and name them, that was named in a story that we did the other day, Bobby Epstein, they said, he's not. He's got the money, but you're the expert, and it's almost that he made reference to the fact that it's like you are he's George Steinbrenner trying to run a baseball team only times 10 without the knowledge. You have the knowledge. So what does it accomplish to remove you from the situation? Can you speak to your partners on why they want to do that?
I haven't spoken to anyone at Auto Week, although they've been calling quite a bit recently.
But what do you think of that analogy that you're the expert, you know how to, say, manage a baseball team, and this partner who's got a lot of money comes in and thinks they know baseball, but they don't, but they're trying to run the show. Do you agree with that assessment? And if so, you know, what does it accomplish to remove you, the person with the expertise?
You know, I think you'd maybe need to ask them. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I know this, and I think that Red and Bobby know this. If it's all agreed upon that one of us needs to part, I'm happy to. You know, they've both had a list of mine from an organizational chart for probably over 12 months. Really key people who are industry experts in each field in motorsports from around the world that I've had relationships with for 30 or 40 years that I think would love to come here. And but I think, Jim, it goes back to that, you know, maybe just a little bit difference of a philosophy of you know, lots of families, you know, have bickering, and I think that all three of us, or at least I'm hopeful that all three of us are just want to see this project happen. So, and I'm, you know, that's a hard one. I mean, you know, you're asking me to speculate a little bit. It's hard.
Tavo, last time you guys got together in a room and met with each other?
I think it was, well, we met with someone last night, and one of the other partners last night, and Bobby, it was in about 3 weeks ago.
Tavo, when the race date was changed, there's been talk, Ecclestone expected the 25 million on July 31st or something like that. When the race date was pushed back, why wasn't that date pushed back too?
Because the only reason that the race date was, one of the reasons that the race date was pushed back is because we were way behind on construction.
I thought it was too hot for me. I thought that was a little.
No, well, that was a benefit, but I mean, the race date was always going to be combined with Montreal, and Mr. Ecclestone, understanding that we were having some challenges, agreed to help us and move the date. And so, at the end of the day, just because the dates moved, I mean, you know, whether we had a window, quite frankly, with the Major Events Trust Fund at that time, We cleared everything with city council. And we did have a window of probably 2 or 3 weeks that we could have used the major events trust fund, and we just didn't.
Why did this relationship sour?
I don't know that it's soured. It's just, again, I think that everybody's got their own idea of the way something should go, you know, and you have to know how to get along, and we try to do that the best we can. Again, you guys have got to understand, I mean, I think that even though the press has been bad and over the last kind of week about the project, I mean, there's a lot of hope. I mean, the track is you know, halfway built, and there's a solution. I mean, Mr. Ecclestone and FOM get their money, and there's a Grand Prix next November. It's literally that simple.
How much money are we talking about now?
I mean, it's basically, well, I can only speak for what contract I had. I mean, it's been widely reported, the 25 million.
Has
I don't
it gone
know.
up now?
I have no idea. I have not seen what the offer is.
Certainly more than that's been spent on the track already, 25 million. I mean, really, does Bobby Epstein not have the 25 million to pay the license fee?
You know what? I have no idea. I mean,
A lot of
that's-
families go into bickering, but very rarely does the bickering end up that you're burning down the house.
Yeah.
And that's what, that is the best analogy I can come up with to this, that the bickering is such that everybody's willing to let the thing die, rather than come to some conclusion.
I'm not, I'm certainly, you know, I've spent the better part of my adult life on this, and I'm willing to do whatever it is for this project to happen, including, you know, not be a part of it.
Tom, on a scale from
None
1
of
to
the
10.
none of the partners have indicated a willingness to let this die.
Yeah.
They're all trying to find a solution,
And-
and Tavo's very much a part of it.
And let's be clear, the solution is for FOM to get their money and for a new contract to be instated. I mean, it's that simple.
Well, how much money are you guys, or Circuit of America's, the investors, short? If we're looking at the $25 million mark, how much are we short?
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, again, guys, truly, when I say it, it's not posturing. My role has always been the content, the promoter, all that. I have no idea about the finances. I hear that it's looking very good, is what I've heard.
How can you not know? I mean, you were the guy who was the face behind this project, that put it together, that talked to Red. I mean, how can you not know? How can you be frozen out of this?
I just, it's not my role on it.
As far as the sanctioning is concerned, December 7th seems to be the mark, but Ecclestone has said in media reports coming out of Europe that he's not waiting until then. We're almost to that
I just
point.
saw
How do
that
we,
today, someone handed
how do we
me
seal that deal to make it happen? I mean,
I think somebody needs to jump on a plane and go see him and make him happy and get this race done.
You said, Mr. Dobson, you mentioned that it's in the works as far as the buyout. Is there, you know,
That's such a minor, I mean,
well,
it
but
really is.
Did you say earlier that we were trying to buy out the partners first?
Yeah, I mean,
Who's we?
Well, Tavo stated a willingness to put together a group to buy out his partners, but there was no interest in that, and so he abandoned it.
so what is the deadline for them buying you out, Tavo?
I don't think
I
there's
mean,
really a
Ms.
deadline. I mean,
Thompson?
right now, I think everyone, it's all hands on deck to try to reinstate the Grand Prix so that there's a Grand Prix next year.
What could you do then to help facilitate and make that happen?
I've made it abundantly clear that I stand willing and ready to do whatever it is for there to be a Formula One Grand Prix next year.
Are you and Bernie Ecclestone still speaking?
I haven't spoken to him in about a week and a half or two.
Tom,
But yeah.
You're the closest one to him. Why wouldn't you be in contact with him to?
I've certainly made that offer.
Tavo, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely, what is the probability that Grand Prix is going to happen in Austin, according to your opinion?
You know, my opinion is a lot of you who've known me a long time. I'm an eternal optimist and I'm hopeful. So I'm going to say better than 50%. That's just the way I want to look at it.
When Combs comes out and says that they're not going to advance the 25 million now, does that complicate the financial picture or not?
You know, I don't know. I really, I don't know. I think it's still something that is, you know, available for the event. So I don't know that if it's.
Yeah, but it's a year later, not up front.
Yeah, I
Does that
mean,
make a difference?
I really wouldn't know on the business model side if that would make a difference. I would think you'd have to somehow adjust for it.
I know you can't speak for everyone else, but you say you're for the best of what's happening, but obviously there has been a division in the ranks somewhere. Are you gonna have to go for this to proceed forward, do you think, or is there still a chance if this race happens in November, you're as much a part of it as Epstein, the partners, CODA, everybody?
As I've said before, I think that I'm happy to assist in any way. I mean, I do. I just want the best for the project.
I know, pardon me, I know, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I know what your intentions are. Do you think their intentions, though, are that they have to have your removal?
I don't know. I think you'd have to ask them directly. I really don't know.
Hey, Tavo, where do we stand on the rights for MotoGP?
Well, actually, that was something that was never included in the partnership originally. Naturally, it's where I want the race to be. Kevin and Carmelo both are obviously concerned about the situation, but if we or they can finish the track, there's no reason why there shouldn't be MotoGP. You know, again, I'm just trying to remain hopeful. I've gotten calls from every major race series in the last 2 days. Some of the highest ranking officials in each series around the world, and you know, the question is, how in the world could this be happening? And you know, I continue to be the optimist. I say, well, stick around. It's going to be okay. You know, but we'll see. But you know, the project's obviously on a deadline with Formula One, and it sounds like a simple fix.
Why hasn't it happened?
It does seem incredibly simple, $25 million. I mean, these are guys who represent that much money.
I'm sorry?
These are guys who represent that much money. How hard can it be?
You know, I don't know. I've never even seen what $25 million looks like, so I don't know. Again, like I said, when the reporter today told me that he was told by someone directly that I had been offered $39 million and that I refused it, and I looked at Casey and I said, oh my gosh, if I'd been offered 10% of that, you'd see me in Tahiti, for Christ's sakes.
How much did they offer you?
We're not going to get into our discussions.
But no, I mean, so, you know, I don't know how to answer that. Again, I mean, I'm not, literally, you guys know that I'm pretty black and white. The finance part of this was not my role at all, so I'm not familiar with it.
You're listed as a co-founder of the group. Were you being paid a salary, or have you been paid a salary by CODA for your services and the services of Full Throttle?
Yeah, so one of the things that was for the Grand Prix portion of my salary was basically to be the chairman of the Grand Prix, and that was it. Not really an employee of CODA, but more of a contract salary for the Grand Prix, and I was paid a salary for most of the time.
Are you still being paid?
No, he hasn't been paid. The last month.
Last couple months, yeah.
Was that given in notice and contract form that they were going to cease their payment?
We're not going to get down.
Well, that would say whether or not you actually have a legitimate relationship with this whole function.
We're trying to resolve our business dispute with Tavo's partners, and we're not going to do that. They've been kind and considerate enough to not try and do that in the media, and Tavo's not going to do it either.
Yeah, I mean, really, so guys, the only reason I wanted to clear there is that there were some misconceptions on what the issues were, because everyone's being very careful with what they say, and that was it. It's just, for me, you guys know I'm a pretty upfront person. I take it personally when someone or a report comes out that is so completely false that I have been doing anything wrong. There isn't anybody that can say, not anybody, not Red, not Bobby, I don't think any of them would say, that I haven't done what I wanted, what I promised to do.
Tavo,
Yeah.
I have one question, Tavo.
Yeah.
How much impact, if any, did the announcement on the track project in New Jersey have on this?
You know, I think that we had this conversation, Red and Bobby and I, several months ago, because we were aware that they were gaining some traction. To me, and this is my position as a promoter, they're two completely different demographics and regions. New Jersey is 1,800 miles from Austin. There's 9 Grand Prix within 1,500 miles of London. This one's 1,800 miles away. I know that Francois in Montreal is a little bit more concerned about it, since it'd be like there being a Grand Prix in Austin and then 5 days later there being a Grand Prix in Houston. So I think that is a saturation, but I think that the people in New Jersey and Montreal probably work together and make that work for that area. But for us, and for an event in Texas, I think all it does is enhances the profile of Grand Prix racing in America, and the fact that they're spread apart by 5 or 6 months, I think it's just good, to be perfectly honest. So,
Tavo, if you don't have the contract grant of rights, and Bernie's going to deal directly with the Circuit of the Americas on the contract, what do you have left in this?
well, right now I'm still one of the owners of Partners in CODA.
So you get like some percentage of profits if this thing goes
Sure,
up?
sure, and I mean, I have the contract with MotoGP,
Okay.
and obviously a relationship with Subaru V8. But let's be clear here. This isn't about who's got what. I mean, they're all being thrown into a big pot. I mean, the idea is for it to all be at Circuit of the Americas. But I think everyone, all the partners, and I can't speak for Red and Bobby, but I think the main goal right now is fix the issue with Formula One, and that's really it right now. So I just wanted to kind of clear the air on some of the things that were being floated out there, and I didn't want y'all to think that I was ducking and weaving, but no, I think that there's a good chance that everything can work out.